Fred Moten and I have been talking for a long time now, last year at least, about a certain moment in European history and political thought, and how this moment is really the coming together of the genocidal, geocidal European program that's been underway for a long time already, but really reaches its sort of ongoing zenith, and to us reminds us of the current crisis in many ways. And this is a moment where two forms of improvement start to come together and get entangled and confused, and become forms of investment and speculation, in which it's really hard, again, to take apart the two forms of improvement. One form of improvement, which you can find, for instance, in Raymond Williams' book, Keywords. I noticed there's a radical keywords book here that look kind of interesting that somebody's talking about today. Raymond Williams' book, Keywords, has a word, improvement. And he says in the entry to this, he says, well, you know, it's kind of an interesting word because it seems largely to have come up in the 18th century and then really gets going in the beginning of the 19th century in British novels and stuff, and it has a lot to do with the idea that one can improve oneself. It's caught up with the whole bourgeois notion of self-improvement, constant self-improvement, refinement, self-authorship, which, you know, begins to expand past just a certain number of white male Europeans and also takes on we also begin to see middle class and aristocratic white European women beginning to invest in it. And we see discussions about who else might enter into this kind of improvement, right? And of course, he notes very briefly, but you don't really get a discussion of it, that all along there's been this other important notion of improvement, especially in Britain, starting in Britain in many ways, but fanning out through Europe and then eventually out through the colonized parts of the world. And this is the notion of the improvement of land or property. And early on, if you know the arguments around, you know, how capitalism really begins to develop in Britain, there are a lot of discussions about the improvement of land. And the ways in which land become productive, and that notion of productivity begins to become more and more important, right? So what I want to suggest, what Fred and I have been talking about a lot, is how these two things get entangled, the improvement of self and the improvement of property, in a world where selves and properties are not a clear distinction for most of the world and are being increasingly mixed up by the Europeans in a particular kind of way.